My name is David Morin. I am with Autodesk doing industry relation and business development. FMX 2014 is a bit of a watershed moment for virtual production. We had 2 days of presentation in the virtual production track and very successful track that just ended yesterday. This is the culmination of a process that started in 2007 when Curtis Clark from the ASC, the technology committee director of the American Society of Cinematographers, asked me to chair a committee on pre-visualization. It all started there, and at the time the industry was becoming aware of pre-visualization, and pre-visualization was really a precursor of virtual production in many ways. For 2 years, we ran a committee that essentially educated the industry through case studies of people who were doing previs at the time. And I think we were successful in bringing a lot of good data for people making movies at a time where the film industry was really switching from an analog process with film still being a very important part of the medium at that time, to where we are today, where most of the movies are shot digitally. And this process of conversion to digital started with previs. In 2009, we ended that committee and Avatar came out. And another wave of requests came in for us to put together an effort, again, to learn, for the industry to learn and to educate itself about this new movie making, virtual production. And then a larger number of societies and guilds got together. They asked me to chair that effort in continuity with the previous committee. And that's how the Virtual Production Committee was born. And so in LA, we have meetings from time to time whenever there is a movie that comes out that used virtual production in a small part or in a big way. And we bring the filmmakers who have done these movies, and we have them present and talk about, how they came to those solutions using those tools, and how what was the benefit, and how it helped them or did not help them in some cases, to really learn from the good and the bad so that the industry can find its way in this innovation. And so to make a story short, 2009 was Gravity. There was a number of movies that came out after that, Tintin, Real Steel, and the new Lord of the Rings, or the new Hobbit movies, that use those technologies. And this year is the year of Gravity. Obviously, Gravity won 7 Oscars and did a very successful movie at the box office. For a sleeper movie, Chris DeFaria, who was here as part of our track, gave the story and the background story of how that movie started. Small movie originally, it was not planned to be a big blockbuster, but the director, Alfonso Cuarón, really had a very specific movie in mind, and it turned out that virtual production was the way to realize that movie to its fullest. And there's a whole story about that. But we got, it's an example in our virtual production committee. A few weeks before the movie came out, Chris DeFaria invited us to Warner Brothers to show to the committee a little bit of how the movie was made. Just before it came out, no one knew if it was going to be big or small, but we all knew that it was important, the way that they use the technology. And particularly the light box in that case was an innovation that came from a lot of studies that were done in other fields or in related fields, but that was done was possible because there was a use of pre-visualization in the process of making that movie. They essentially, as we saw in the Gravity case study yesterday, they pre-visualized the entire movie before they actually went to shoot it, and then to finish it in visual effects in a process that is the virtual production process. And We started at the Virtual Production Committee with a very narrow definition of virtual production. We defined it originally as computer graphics on set, so interactive computer graphics to view some of your visual effects while you're shooting. But very quickly, through those case studies like Gravity and Real Steel or the Hobbit movies and to Avatar, all the filmmakers told us it is more than that. Virtual production is not just what's going on set. In order for that to happen, in order to view what you have, to view some of your visual effects in camera on set, you have to do a lot of work in pre-production in a certain way so that you can bring those assets to the set. And it changes the way visual effects and finishing is done. So you really have to look at the entire pipeline. Virtual production is a new way of making movies from beginning to end. And that changes a lot of the more traditional pre-production, production, and post that we're used to in movie making, and makes it a much more iterative process. Well, the big catalyst I find out, and we all find out as we go into this industry, is realizing stories, better stories that have never been seen on screen before. That's what attracted us all to that medium and the video game medium and the creative medium in general. And that remains the central goal, and we tend to forget that. When you go to the movies, you are seeking enthusiasm. You are seeking excitement. And a big part of excitement is seeing something new, something you've never seen before, something that stimulates your mind in a way that takes into account all the things you know, but brings something new to it. And technology is absolutely subservient to that goal of the filmmaker, to bring a new story to the screen. Even if it's a sequel, there has to be something new in it. If it was the same movie, people wouldn't go see it. There has to be something exciting, something new. And filmmakers, directors, writers, that's what they live and breathe. I have to find that story and then find a way to realize it on screen. The new technologies like virtual production allows filmmakers to render stories that were impossible to do before. So it's been said of Avatar, it's a great example, but it's certainly the case this year with Gravity. And the filmmakers themselves, and Chris DeFaria and Tim Weber from Framestore, the way they describe the process of making Gravity is fascinating, because it's really not about the technology. They were not making a virtual production movie when they started, and was never a criteria in their mind to use a specific technology. But they were trying to do a story that was, as we know, in space and these very long shots, and so, in a place where you cannot go shoot in space, and in a place where even if you could go shoot, trying to do a 18 minutes long shot with all the cues being hit the way they did is impossible. Even if you could go anywhere, you have to have the tools to realize that vision of having an 18 minutes long shot that hits all the marks the way they did, in a way that looks like it was handheld in space. You shot it in space. So virtual production allows that to happen, and there's a lot of components that are well known, like the visual effects part of that movie, rendering, photoreal, space people and the earth and debris and all that. Although it's a great achievement, it looks fantastic and very real. That part, we've seen photoreal, all kind of things in visual effects over the last 25 years. The part that is new in this virtual production movie has to do with the camera work, with the lens work, and in some cases when there are virtual characters, with the kind of virtual characters that are brought to screen, they are very lifelike in this process, and the camera work, the cinematography is very natural, because essentially we took tools that were done for rendering in post, and technology is evolving. They're now fast enough that you can make them live on set. The interactive computer graphics aspect of virtual production is very important. The big innovation in Gravity, the light box, where they were able to put around the actors a rendition, a rendering, a live rendering of what they would see if they were in space. Well, yeah, all hell breaks loose around them. Now they could see, Sandra Bullock could see this environment, and prior to the virtual production process, she would have been in a green screen, you know, imagining these things. And, you know, good actor can do that. That's what they've done in the past. It's the black box theater thing they learn in school, where you can be in a black box and imagine everything in your head. But if you can bring them a view, even if it's a low-res view of what is supposed to happen, all the visual effects they're going to be, you know, composited in, if you can bring that around them on set, you're helping the performance in more ways than one. The actor can see it, the cinematographers can see it, the gaffer can see it, everybody, the hundreds of people on set can see what's going on. And that visual communication makes the process more efficient in a number of ways. So Framestore, you know, has to be commended for that innovation. And it's one of the way virtual production is evolving. It's a process that's evolving to the service of the story, and we want it to continue that way.